So, flipping the page for solving our inequalities. Just like we have before, we're going to solve equations like we typically will. In terms of if there's parentheses, we'll get rid of parentheses. We're going to kind of go through those steps. Now, these first couple steps we're not going to have today. So if we need to distribute first, we want to do that. We won't have those today. We'll see those tomorrow. Now, there's a little asterisk by number 4, and I'll explain why that is. So, I'm going to show you guys a little example as we're going through this here. So, I have a little example here for us. So, let's do So I'm going to do this as an example. So negative 3x is less than 12. How do we solve this? That's not a trick question, and that's not the tough part. So what are we going to do to solve? How do we get rid of multiply? Yep. Divide by negative 3. So when I go to divide by negative 3, I guess I'm going to go above just by space. Now, x is supposed to be less than negative 4. That's what it's supposed to be. I'm going to talk to you guys about that. So what's something less than negative 4? What's an answer that should work? Yep. So like negative 5 should be less than negative 4. But if I go and check that in here, if I go put negative 5 in here, like Justine just said, negative 3 times negative 5, what is that? That's not a trick question. What's negative 3 times negative 5? Yep. Positive 15. Is that less than 12? No, that doesn't work. So this is where inequalities get a little weird, and that's why there's an asterisk. So in inequalities, if we multiply or divide by a negative, we have to flip the inequality. So I'm going to write that in this step. So we're going to multiply or divide. What are you two doing back there? Zach's bullying you? So if we multiply or divide by a negative, we're going to have to switch the inequality. So if you're multiplying or dividing by a negative, you're going to switch your inequality. No, you're fine. You're going to trick me. Pretty sneaky. So we'd actually have to switch this. So this would actually become x is greater than negative 4. So we'd have to switch that inequality because we divided by a negative. But that's only for the multiply and divide step. That's why there's just an asterisk there. So we have some solving to do here. So we're going to solve this like we normally would. We'll solve this like we normally would. Solve for the x, and then we're just going to graph it. So it says solve and graph the solution. So to get x alone in example 3, what are we going to do? Yep. Yep. Now on the add and subtract step, there's no special rules. So you don't have to do anything different with the inequality. So it's just going to be x is less than or equal to negative 3. Right? So then we go to put this on our number line. So negative 3 is going to go in the center, and then we're just going to pick some other values nearby. Remember, smallest to largest with inequality, or with the number line. What kind of circle do I use this time? Open or filled in? Filled in, because it's equal to. And then remember, the inequality is going this way, which means less than, so I need to go left. So we're going to go this way. So if you check numbers to the left, they're going to work in this inequality. But numbers to the right won't. So if I check negative 4 plus 5 is 1. That's less than or equal to 2, so that works. Okay? Then, example 4, we want to get that x alone. Now careful, this is multiply and divide. So negative 2 is being multiplied to x. So just like in the problem we did up above, we're going to divide by negative 2. And since we're dividing by a negative, we have to flip the inequality, switch the inequality. So now I'm not actually you don't have to write this out every time, but I'm just trying to get you to realize this is an important piece. When I divide by a negative, I have to flip that inequality. So this x now is going to flip, is less than 8 divided by negative 2 is going to be a negative 4. So I have to switch that inequality. Oops, that didn't make sense. That should be negative 5. And again, with your homework tonight, I don't need you guys to do these elaborate number lines. Like 3 numbers is good, but just 1 number is not enough. So open circle this time, and then we're going to go less than, so we're going to go left again. Okay. So why don't you guys take a look at the next problem, see if you guys know what you need to do. And then also the question is, do we need to flip on example 5? So take a minute to look at example 5. Make a decision about that. How do we get the m alone in this one? What are we going to do to get m alone here? Yeah, go ahead. We're going to multiply by 2. Now I'm multiplying negative 6 by 2. Do I have to flip my inequality? No. So that's kind of a little bit of an English problem there. So make sure you understand. It's the number I'm multiplying by that's super important. So since 2 is a positive, I don't have to flip my inequality. Even though my answer is going to be a negative, since 2 is the number I'm multiplying by, I don't have to flip it. If you're ever in doubt, whoops, now I flipped it just to confuse you. If you're ever in doubt, you can always try numbers and see what works. So this is going to be negative 12. And again, I didn't flip my inequality because I multiplied by a positive 2. So my number line goes from smallest to largest. We have the equal to line, so I'm going to fill in my negative 12. But this time it's trying to eat the m, which means m is bigger than negative 12. So I'm going to go bigger this time. Now number 6 is similar to our warm-up question. So depending on your comfort level with number 6 in terms of the fractions, or if you like to work with it in your calculator solely. I like to do the 2 steps where when I do this, I'm going to start by getting rid of the 3. I'm going to multiply by 3. So I get 2x is less than 36. And then I'm going to divide by 2. And there's no negatives here to worry about. So x is just going to be less than 18. Thank you. It might not have to be perfectly honest, it might not have uploaded instantly, but still, right. Okay, so this time it's an open circle. But again, remember this little one is like less, so we have to go less from here. So towards the smaller numbers. I want to talk about this one, and then I want to show you guys one example from the book. I realized I didn't put one of these in our notes, so I want to talk about it. What's happening with the negative k here? What's that really the same as? It's like the coefficient. What's the number in front of k? 1. Yep, it's like a negative 1 there. So I have to get rid of that negative 1. So I'm going to divide by negative 1. The big thing to remember with this, though, is when you multiply or divide by a negative, we have to flip the inequality. So again, I'm going to flip it again. So I'm going to usually write that I'm flipping the inequality so you don't just think I made a silly mistake, because that's totally likely. Negative is going to be a positive 9. So I had to flip it in order to make the problem make sense because of the multiply and divide by a negative. I'm going to fill in the dot again, but it's opening towards the k. It means it's greater than k. Or greater than 9, sorry. So, homework is 2 separate pages. This is going to be due Wednesday, because I'm not seeing you guys tomorrow because of the junior ACT. So you guys have 2 days to get that done. But before I let you guys loose on that, I'm going to show you guys one more problem that in our book that it's similar to some of the ones you guys will have to do. Let's do this problem real quick before I let you guys go. And you guys can just follow along or write it down if you want. The sum of 11 and m is greater than 23. What does sum mean? Do you guys remember? We talked about that in the warm-up. Yep. Yeah. So if it's saying to take the sum of 11 and m, it's really just saying 11 plus m. Is greater than 23. So then I just have to do my little greater symbol. 23. So in the homework, it's asking you to do a problem like this. And then it just asks you guys to solve and graph. So then I would just subtract 11 from each side. Now when I add and subtract, I don't have to worry about flipping my inequality at all. So it just ends up being m is greater than 12, and then I would just graph that. Okay? Questions there? So there's a few like that, so just watch out for those. Okay? So,